Hello everyone, I hope you guys are all doing well. I wanted to share a small excerpt from Romans chapter 12 verse 2. It says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind." The topic that I wanted to talk about today is the gravity of sin. As long as we're on this earth, there is an invisible force that pulls us towards the earth. It's not something that we have to put energy into, or it's not something that we have to think about. As long as we exist on this planet, the force is already being applied to us. And much like the same way in our spiritual life, there is an invisible force that pulls us towards the fleshly things, pulls us towards sin. When someone wrongs us, it's not easy for us to forgive. If we let it be, we can naturally have this feeling of anger and resentment. We actually have to try to fight against it. We have to try to fight against the gravity. Just like how in a rocket ship, there's so much amount of fuel and energy that goes into the ship to get itself out of the Earth's atmosphere, to get itself out of the pull of the gravity that's already weighing itself down. And the Bible tells us to not be conformed to the patterns of this world, because it's easier for us to fall into sin than it is for us to fall out of sin. To fall out of sin and pull us out of sin, we have to put energy into it. We have to pray. We have to seek the Lord, and we have to actively try to not keep on falling into that same pattern over and over again. So I would like to encourage everyone to not fall into the gravity of sin, but actively try to pray against it. If it's actually harder to do the things that God tells us to do, and there's a good reason for it, but in the end, it's not really worth it for us to do nothing, because if we do nothing, we're going to end up falling into sin. There's a famous proverb that goes, if a fish is not swimming upstream, it's swimming downstream. So let our prayer be to have strength, to draw strength from the Lord, because if we try to do it on our own, we're going to get exhausted. We don't have the strength to constantly keep fighting the flesh over and over based on our will alone. So we have to rely on God's word and God's light to try to pull us out of the trap and all the attractions that the world has to offer.